system that is completely reliant on gravity, and they figure out like they're bending time, just flying places instantaneously. If that's the future of space travel, like whoever gets there first, that's a big fucking deal. That's a really big deal, and that can't be out there in the public where China could steal the data, or Russia could steal the data, or Iran could steal the. You can't have anybody get a hold of this.
Well, here's the thing: if we're the sole superpower in the world, then I think it makes sense for us to hold that information back and develop it on our pace, because we're not worried about competitors. They're going to catch up to us and potentially leapfrog us. But when we're operating in a world where we have near-peer or peer adversaries, such as China, that do have the ability to potentially work on the same technology, that's where the model breaks down a bit, right? Because if we're artificially slowing our progress in order to maintain the secrecy and someone is catching up to us, our only real solution at that point is to activate, the millions of super smart and motivated people in our country to start pushing ourselves ahead, lest we get leapfrogged by countries that can do that through their own private investments, such as China.
That's a very, very, very good point. Because wouldn't it be awesome if we were the only superpower, and then we could just like slowly get into this stuff?
And maybe that's what's been happening for the past, 20, 30 years after the Cold War.
That's where this whole Area 51 S4 shit comes into play. Because you have to think that if this is happening, this is around the time of the collapse of the Soviet Union, right? So this is like, whew.
We had a good 30 years, see what we could do.
Relaxed. And have you ever seen Lazar talk about it?
Yeah, I met him once.
What did you think?
I mean, it's the type of story that, you only have your own beliefs to go off of because,
Because it's so crazy.
It's so crazy, and it's, it's one of those stories where it's basically impossible to validate it. So, like a lot of the stories I hear, I often don't have all this evidence that I can work from. So I throw it in the database in my head, and I look for comparisons, right? Just like the gimbal video and how it maneuvers. Like, well, that's interesting. That kind of lines up. Doesn't totally validate the story, but that's kind of how I approach this topic. I'm not there to like immediately judge whether it's true or not true. It's just kind of additional information I can use. Just like that photo I sent you, right? That's just some random lady in her backyard. But as it turns out, multiple pilots and commercial airliners saw the same thing. So
So this is the one that the commercial airline saw that was flying at about the same speed as a plane and then took off.
Yep. It was completely stationary and accelerated to the speed of a plane, and then went way faster than that.
And what year was this again?
I think it was 22.
Wow. So this lady got a picture of it.
That's actually a picture from the pilot in the cockpit.
That looks like a plane.
Yeah. I have the one from the lady, too. It looks the same except from the ground, but...
The same but doesn't it look like a plane to you? Doesn't it look like a plane, Jamie?
You can't tell. I don't know.
Doesn't it look like the front, like the nose? I mean, I'm looking at Bigfoot through the woods right now. It's like, it's one of those things. Like, look, you can see his face.
I mean, if it's
That looks like a
multiple
fucking...
light sources.
Reflection off of the window, maybe even.
Bro, that's a cloud. That lady's tripping. The thing is, like...
Air traffic control didn't have it on their radar.
Unless you have a really good phone, like if you have a Samsung that gets like that 100x zoom, how much are you going to be able to see?
Yeah. That's why, with these cases in New Jersey, what's most compelling for me are these, like, they're not the images themselves, but it's these elected officials, law enforcement officers and others that are like very flabbergasted at what they saw, right? They're not just like, well, yeah, there's something, but I mean, they're pissed off. They're very confident what they were seeing was not normal. They're having a hard time putting words to it and having a proper photo, but as you can tell now, I think it's not easy to just put your iPhone up in the sky and grab a photo of something that's far away, right?
Yeah,
I mean, they're not designed for that.
They're not designed for that. They don't look that clean, And even, I mean, the best phones. If something's flying through the sky, you're going to get a shitty, blurry image of it. Like you need some